Hi, good to see all of you again. At least I've seen these two before. And she's Ananya and you are?
Sonali.
Sonali. So Sonali. So we're going to talk about this topic, life beyond pain. And pain is a topic I think that most people like to talk about, right? We like to think about it, we like to mull over it, we like to get answers about why we have pain. And most of us here, I'm sure we would understand that pain is something that is it's like something which stays with us, which is like a second skin, right? Can't get rid of it. At least we think we can't get rid of it, right? Why I called it life beyond pain is actually, if you look at life, the very word life, being human, means that in some way or the other we are going to encounter some kind of a pain. Very few people can go through life without encountering, touching upon some aspect of pain, right? It's different for different people because the intensities can be different, right? And the intensities would depend on maybe the way our conditioning, where we grew up, in what culture we grew up, what nationality we had. I mean, there are some countries have been to war perpetually since the time they were born. So obviously their understanding of pain is so vastly different from us in India, right? And so if life is synonymous with pain, and so am I saying life beyond life actually, right? Because if life is pain and pain is life, then I'm actually saying life beyond pain. I chose the name Beyond Pain because I think that is exactly what I try to do in the work that I do. To just give you a brief idea of what I do, I'm a therapist and I work with people who suffer pain through different aspects, like through trauma that they encounter in life or through any shocks that they encounter in life, right? Any stress that they encounter in life. Right? One person's stress could be another person's trauma, right? Depending on how that person is able to take that stress. And whatever understanding I have about pain is obviously through my own personal experiences of pain in my own life, and also what I've seen in my clients. I have seen how some people are able to handle pain in a much better way. They seem to have something that others don't have. We wonder what that is.
Physical, otherwise some people are cerebral, some people are having emotional pains and different kinds of pains.
Yes.
Some have money and crisis of money.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
So different aspects of our life can bring up different kinds of pain, right? And I do want you all to, to be an interactive session. So I would like you all to, tell me what you all think about. It's very nice for me as well to hear about what you all think about what is pain. So would anybody like to share something? It's not compulsory, but if you all want to talk, please interrupt me, ask questions, all right? So I should just put this on. So like you just said, that pain can come in any aspect of a life, right? It could be financial pain, which a lot of people in this country face, right? Because, we have more people under the poverty line than anywhere else probably in the world. And there is pain, emotional pain, right? Emotional pain comes because of our relationships, right? We can also have emotional pain because of being in a particular place where we work, in our job, but ultimately it's always got to do with a relationship. It's always got to do with people being together in a social context and our emotions arising out of those relationships.
A recent example is this for heavy rainfall, there's emotional pain is all over Maharashtra and
Yes. Yes. A lot of trauma comes out of that kind of an experience, right? And especially natural disasters where you have no control over them. It's almost like you can't do anything about that. And then when you lose control of a situation, there is more pain out of that.
You cannot predict it.
You cannot predict it, absolutely. Well, the way things are going with people nowadays, it seems that people can't predict anything in their lives, right? They seem to give up control very easily over everything. And it's like a natural disaster becomes equal to what we consciously create. Right? So then we also have physical pain, right? Physical pain is a physical injury. So you can't avoid those. As we age, and we grow older, we seem to have more chances of maybe falling down, right? And because there's less control in the body, neurological control, there are more chances of having injury when you're older. When you're younger, you're more supple, your body is more tuned into things, and you can protect yourself very well. So you have physical injury as well. Now also in physical injury, a person who is younger will handle a physical injury much more differently than a person who is older, right? Younger people are more resilient. So this is a very good, yes, sports people. This word resilience, what does it mean? Resilience, perfect, yes. Bouncing back, resilience. Right? And don't you think that our ability to handle pain in our own lives is very much because of the resilience we have, not just within us but also around us, right? So what support systems we can get from our environment, and also what support system can we give ourselves, a personal resilience inside our body, inside our mind, right? And then you also have things like poverty, right? Third picture on the top. Things like poverty cause a lot of pain, right? Now pain and suffering. So what is suffering? What do you think is suffering? Is pain equivalent to suffering?
They are not getting support. Helpless people suffering. It's not getting support of many family members, society members, financially as well as emotional. Not look after anybody,
So that is suffering?
Yeah, suffering also.
Is pain equal to suffering?
Communities, depressed communities members and all.
Okay. You wanted to say something? Is pain equal?
Pain is not equal to suffering.
What is the difference?
See, suffering means may not have that physical, may or may not have physical disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other one is essentially emotional.
Okay. So you're saying pain is only emotional?
No, it is an interpretation of an event.
Okay.
It could be an emotional, it could be physical.
It could be anything?
It could be anything.
Right. So pain could be in your body, pain could be in your mind, pain could be because of a lack of spiritual inclination in life, no spiritual urges, like pain could be being totally immersed in the material world, and obviously the stress that arises out of being in the material world is something that on a day-to-day basis you have to deal with, right? Now everybody's ability to deal with pain is different, isn't it? Some people take that pain that they have in life and they choose to, and I'm saying they choose to because a lot of our pain is driven by the way we think, the way we emote, the way we behave, our actions, everything. We seem to propel the pain that we have in our life. So what is suffering? Suffering is that pain, you take it and you carry it on over time. And in time that pain becomes suffering, right? So if your attitude towards pain, you understand what your attitude towards pain is and you are able to change it. If you can make a choice and say, I don't have a good attitude to pain, I want to change it, I make a choice to change it, then you can very well curtail the suffering that will come out of that pain. And sometimes you can't for various reasons, and then that pain over time it becomes suffering. So then you also have diseases and illnesses, right? Again, diseases and illnesses, we think that we have no control over them because they eventually come into the physical body, right? But we know that research is now telling us how before it actually comes into your physical body, while you're still thinking in a certain way, doing certain things, you still don't have the illness. There are ways, many ways now to stop it moving into your body. So in a way you can choose that, okay, I'm doing something wrong today, but I don't want to suffer because of this 5 years later or 10 years later. Let me take some kind of an action now so that I can avoid that. And then you also have pain through, say for example, a burglar coming into your house, right? And you lose everything in your house, you lose all your possessions, right? That causes a lot of suffering in people's lives. and then you have in old age, for example, when you have to take care of yourself in a very different way, like I was talking about falling, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know so many people who have come to me as clients, as well as people I have seen, met around the place, who have had that one fall when they were old, and that changed everything for them, right? You resonate to that?
There is no moral support even sometimes, old age.
True. Sometimes you are alone, sometimes yes, please, thank you. Should I close that? 1 second. So we were talking about pain and suffering, right? It's so painful, right? Did you have to wait for the lift downstairs? That is even more painful then. When we are late for something, right, and we are rushing to get somewhere, that causes so much pain in our lives. You wait for a taxi doesn't come on time. There's, especially in a city like Bombay, I mean, there are just multiple ways we can create pain for ourselves. Okay, so all this that I'm going to talk to you about is in relation to the work that I do. I'm an alternate therapist, and I help people with mental issues as well as I help people with physical issues, right? When people come with mental issues, they still haven't gone to the next stage of illness, because it's yet only in the way they believe, the belief systems they have, the emotional stuff that they are dealing with, and all of that. And the people who come with physical pain obviously have gone way beyond the emotional and the mental realm, and they've gone into the physical body. So dealing with such different kinds of pains is what makes us understand what really is going on with people. So everybody knows this is a picture of the brain, right? Yeah, it's familiar to everyone, right? So what happens when people have shock in their lives, or what happens when people have trauma in their lives? Do you all know the difference between shock and trauma? Right?
Suddenly gets an attack and all this.
So a shock could be something that suddenly happens to you, right? You could lose somebody precious in your life, and it's a shock, right? You never expected it, right? Now there could be many shocks that happen in somebody's life, and all the shocks put together can make you into a very different person, right? Because it completely changes the way you think. If you have had a life where you've only had shock after shock after shock, and there are many people who've gone through that kind of a life, right? We can talk to anybody on the street today, and they will tell you their whole story of their life, and it's just shock after shock after shock, right? And all of those shocks put together, okay, take away something out of you, right? It takes away your ability to deal with shock. You become weakened inside, right? And then we can say that this person is actually encountering trauma, because now they don't have the resilience and the strength to deal with those shocks anymore. So the shocks, when they happen to you initially, you're more robust, right? You're strong, but when you encounter a lot in life, your ability to deal with that changes. Now, our brain is such an amazing organ, right? And now there's the amazing research that's being done in all the fields of science is telling us more and more about how the brain functions, right? So you have, there are 3 levels of the brain, all right? You have just the top brain. I'm going to keep it very simple, try not to bring in difficult words into this. So you have the top layer of your brain, which is the most newest brain, right? It's your neocortex. So your cortex is the most, it's the front runner of everything in your head. And then you have the middle layer of the brain, where you have your limbic system. So all your emotions and all your fears are driven from there, right? And you also have the lower brain, the reptilian brain, where all your old ways of when you were living in,
Stored memory.
yeah, when you were living in the caves and you had to fight off predators all the time, you had to be on your toes literally, right? You could not relax, because somebody would come and take something from you, or you would get killed, or you all the time had to be very vigilant. And then of course you have your body, right? Your spine, your vertebral column carries a bit of neural tissue, right? Inside your spine you have a little bit of neural tissue, it's called your spinal cord. So that spinal cord goes and attaches to your brain, and that's the central nervous system, right? So when people go through trauma or when they go through pain, they go through pain in a way where the information that comes to them gets distorted, right? And it comes at 3 levels. So your cortex is absorbing information, cognitive, right? We all think, we all are conscious, right? So if you see something happening in front of you, you can cognitively see it, right? You can understand what's happening, you can see it, your 5 senses are helping you to, make a kind of a narrative, a framework, a context, right? And then there's your limbic system, which is making you feel all the emotional stuff, right? Whether it is anger or fear, right? It's coming from there. So whatever you're absorbing into your mid-level brain is making you feel something about things in your life. So the information that goes to your cortex is making you more cognitive in a way, making you more good at taking decisions, making you good at taking choices, right? That's the brain which will teach you how to handle pain in your life, right? And the middle brain will make you more fearful, or it will make you feel more angry, or it will bring up these emotions like sadness and suffering, or make you very excited, right? And then you have another part of your brain, the reptilian brain, which it is the information that goes to the reptilian brain is always bringing up old patterns. So if you have been scared of something for a very, very long time, unless you ask yourself that why am I scared of this, or unless you get help from somebody about why you are scared of something, you will just continue to have that pattern all your life, right? Have you met people who are scared of, say, flying in the plane, for example, right? Or fear of cockroaches, or fear of snakes, right? They don't know why. They've never seen a snake. Beg your pardon? Phobias, right? Now, where do these come from? So somewhere there is a pattern which is linked to your reptilian brain, and it keeps bringing up these triggers, right? And you get scared of things. So when we get information coming to us from so many different places, and we are, say, traumatized because of that information, the brain is such an organ that it depends on the connections that are formed in the brain. Do you know that there are cells in the brain, right? They're called neurons, right? These neurons are all the time connecting with each other, and there are trillions and millions of neurons, right? And the more they connect with each other, the more friends they become, the more stronger they become. So, and then they stay with each other through life. So it's like when you go in a forest and you walk down a path, and then somebody behind you walks down that path, and then 20,000 people are walking down that path, and then that path becomes really a good path, right? Because you walked on it, and again people have. So it's something like that in the brain.
Coordination in between each other is called.
Yes. So because they're talking to each other, right? So they're coordinated with each other. And they're not talking to each other just once or twice, they're always talking to each other. So if we have bad habits, for example, what happens with bad habits? It's like that well-worn path in the forest. You keep walking down that bad habit, and that bad habit becomes more stronger and stronger and stronger, right? Similarly for a good habit. You have a good habit, and you learn how to continue with that good habit, and you keep doing that again and again and again, the brain becomes stronger in that area, right? What happens when we have pain because of trauma? Certain parts of the brain get hurt, and it's also said that some parts of the brain can get damaged, okay? So if, for example, all these different parts, many parts of the brain, right, and all these parts of the brain have to work together, right, in order for you and me to stand, sit, talk, do everything that we do in life. And if something out there is not working very well, you can imagine the kind of impact it is going to have on the person who is suffering from pain or who is suffering from trauma. A normal person who doesn't have pain and trauma will not have that kind of a jumbling up in the brain, right? So your decision making abilities are good. Your ability to handle the emotional thing that goes on in your life is very good, but not so for people who have pain and a bigger thing, which is trauma, right? Why does that happen? Because see, our physical body, okay, we have a magnetic field around the physical body. We also have a magnetic field around the brain, right? We also have a field around us. So this field around me includes all of you. It's called the social field, right? When I am free of pain, right? Or maybe I have pain, but I have great resilience to handle that pain. What happens is that the information that comes to me from various directions, various people, whatever information, is able to move inside freely, which means to say that there is a connection with my brain and my heart. So there's a free flowing energy inside me, right? So information comes to me, I receive it, it moves through my body, through my system, and everything is good. And then me as a person, I'm in the same field as all of you, so I'm able to be with you in a much free flowing manner, right? Whereas when we have pain and we keep pain within us for a longer time, and then it becomes chronic pain, then the pain starts showing on our body. So the posture, right, the body language, the patterns that run in the body, so you end up getting illnesses and whatever. What about facial, also expressions on the face, right? All of us, we all look different, right? We all, whatever is expressed on our face and whatever is expressed in our body is what we have come from, right? In our 30 years or 24 years or whatever. So we just gather all of that and it stays with us. So when people come to a place where they can't handle their pain anymore, right? It has translated into suffering, right? They come to a place where they need help, and they come to places like to therapists, right? They come to us because they have explored every option maybe, right? And alternate therapy, as you all know, is probably the last factor, last thing that they go to. Most people go to alternate therapy when they are really examined and seen all the avenues of the conventional medicine and nothing has worked for them, then they think of coming to alternate therapy, right? So in alternate therapy, we work a little differently. We think that when somebody has pain, two of the things that have been affected, okay, by the source of the pain in their life, or the reason why they have pain in their life, two factors that have been affected is trust and safety, right? So what do you think about safety and trust? Do you think that these are primary things that human beings want in their life?
Yes, it is consolation and honestly just like a remedy on it, overcome.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Overcome the pain. Consolation mostly, so you are going for the treatment,
Yeah.
Being a boost to your.
So what do you think about trust and safety?
This is necessary.
It is necessary, right? So what happens when people go through excruciating circumstances, difficult times in their life? Their sense of safety and trust has got impacted negatively, right? It could be a simple thing like in a relationship. Okay, in a relationship we expect to be, we have expectations in a relationship, right? We want a relationship to be in a certain way. We have hinge a lot of our life on relationships, right? And when you get hurt in relationships, or when you lose relationships, or when people betray you in relationships, right? Your definition of trust and safety is impacted. Right? It becomes difficult then to trust other people. It's difficult to open up to other people, right? It's difficult to talk to other people, talk of your own problems with other people. And so it becomes very important for a therapist to help people who come to us to feel that level of safety and trust again. Because trust and safety are two very vital key components in making us feel healthy. Right? those are the two components which can actually make you feel resilient as well. Why do I say that? If I have trust that the world is going to be a good place to live in, if I have trust that my relationships at home are going to fulfill me, they're going to be there for me every time I want somebody is always there for me, right? What are my belief systems? My belief systems are good, right? I'm expecting good things to happen to me. And that trust makes me feel more stronger from inside. My resilience builds up because I know that no matter what happens, there's always going to be something in my life or somebody in my life that's going to help me, support me. Safety. What about safety? It's a big word really, right? Do people feel safe in Bombay?
No.
Not anymore. now I'm in Delhi.
Anything will happen.
Yeah, Bombay is becoming like Delhi maybe. Previously we could walk out at night at 11 o'clock in the night and 12 o'clock in the night and it used to be safe, right? Safety is not just about our physical safety, right? Safety is also about, we don't want people to know what we're thinking, right? We don't want to share our emotions with people because we're scared. If I show people that I am capable of anger, what are they going to think about me? Right? So we want to hide, we want to put on a facade, we want to show that we just have all these amazing happy expressions, and we don't want to show people that there is anything negative about us, right? We don't feel safe, right? Why we don't feel safe and why we don't feel trust is because somewhere earlier on we have obviously been exposed to a situation where we probably had a shift in the way we think about safety and trust, right? When you're born, when you're a newborn baby, there's no question of this doubt, right? As a newborn baby, you just come into this world and you think that this is the place you want to be in because you feel everything is so good around you. So, but as you grow up and as you encounter life and as you encounter relationships and experiences in schooling and college and whatever, you come to a new definition of trust and safety. And by the time a person with pain and trauma comes to a therapist, mostly their sense of safety and trust has been shaken. So we place a lot of importance on helping people build that sense of safety and trust again. Have you seen people who do you notice when, if say you're traveling the train for example, don't you notice people who sit really into their seats, right? You know that you can't talk to them because they have this wall around them. They don't want to share anything. They don't want to be seen. They want to hide, right? Or they'll put up the newspaper in front of them and they'll, protect themselves with that. So we go through life building all these armors around us, right? Protective armors. And one upon the other, and ultimately there's so much of distance between me and all of you that I don't really know you and you don't really know me, because we feel so much need for protecting ourselves. Does anyone want to add anything or ask anything?
Isolation is what kind of, could you tell us what is the isolation?
So what is the difference between to be isolated and to be alone?
Organism is what?
Alone is self-chosen.
Self-chosen.
Isolated might be by a society.
Or by yourself as well, right? So what your question is, what happens to an isolated person?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know anybody who is isolated? Do you have any example?
No communication is going on. Some people in our flat system of society, some people are not going to talk anybody,
Yeah,
No
okay.
communication, no
Right.
sitting alone and watching.
Yeah.
Whole day, that's no
Yeah. So being isolated and feeling isolated from other people is probably one of the most difficult experiences probably the person is happening in their life. Because by nature, humans are not meant to be isolated. We're social beings, right? We want contact. We want to eye contact. We want to hug people, right? We want to sit and chit chat with people. We want to tell people our stories. We want to hear other people's stories, right? the amount of people, Indians talk so much, right? You know that we are very social people, right? It doesn't take us long to talk to a stranger on the train as well, and you know, people don't take long to tell you their whole life story as well. So by that definition, you agree that we are social beings, right? So if we consider that to be true, then people who are isolated may not be in a very nice place, right? And isolation can happen because of many different reasons. We as a human beings, we also tend to judge people a lot, right? If somebody has done something wrong according to our standards, our definition of what we should be in society, we tend to isolate people. Now isolation happens even in schools, right? If you've had children, I'm sure one day your child may have come and told you that nobody talked to me in school today, right?
Very reserved, not talking.
No, nobody has talked to me today in school today, right? That is isolation for that child, right? And children who go through those kind of experiences more often in school end up as adults also becoming more quieter, right? Because at the time when they should have learned how to be in relationship with other children, sharing, giving, talking and all of that, and they didn't have that exposure, they grow up into adults who probably like being isolated. And it need not be by choice, right? It's by design. I mean, that's how it happened, and therefore that's how they are. But if you sit and talk to these people and you sort of bring them out of that isolation, make friends with them, help them to open up, they will be just like you, wanting to talk. Just it will take them much longer to do that. So isolation is not really a good thing, unless you choose to be solitary, right? So for example, a writer, right? A writer needs to go off somewhere into the mountains and be by themselves for 2-3 months, right? They purposely choose to get isolated because they want to be solitary. That is so different, right? And that comes out of joy and happiness, right? Of course, the worst kind of isolation is when you're isolated by other people, right? That can be very, very traumatic. Do you agree? Right? So the mind, okay, there is always a sort of a conversation around, is the mind more important or the heart more important? What do you all think?
What is the mind and where it is?
Okay, that's let's just pretend for today that we know where the mind is. And your consciousness is the mind, right? So okay, let's say, what is more important? Is the brain more important or the heart more important?
The heart makes the thing go.
The heart
is important.
You think the heart is important, okay? For what reason?
The heart knows the reason, that reason cannot understand.
Okay, lovely. What about the rest of you? Heart or brain? Or both?
Brain is a central process of unit, just like a giving command, orders and shooting orders.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And your heart doesn't shoot orders?
No, visually heart is what.
Do you remember the first time you fell in love? Was that your brain telling you or your heart?
That's it, visually what it is.
But then, yeah, the language of the heart is your heartbeat faster, right? Your hands getting clammy, or you know, all of that is the language of your heart. So we can't really say, right? Because both are equally important, right? But in different societies, in different countries, there's always one thing which is more important than the other. And mostly in most places, it's the mind, the brain that has been given the higher position, right? People who are heart-centric, oh, they're very foolish, right? They're very too emotional, right? They don't know how to think. They only feel, right? Don't you all think that about women?
See what happens over there is said women think with their heart and the men feel with their brains.
That's good. That's really nice. I like that. Women think with their heart and men feel with their brain. If that is true, then why is it that most men, not all, most men find it very difficult to reach their heart? Most men are taught that you have to only use your brain. because that will get you ahead in life, that will get you a job, that will make you successful, right? And your heart is not important. So put your emotions on the back burner, right? Keep them hidden, don't share your emotions. If you are intellectual and you're analytical and you're logical and you're rational, then you will make something out of your life. And you know, true to form, if you see artists, they all come from the space of the heart, and they really don't make that much, or they're not that successful as people who are using their left brain, right? But these are all stereotypes. At the end of the day, you need both, right? Both functionally are important, structurally are important, and both need to befriend each other, right? If your brain and your heart are friends within your own body, it means that somewhere inside your body there is blossoming health, right? Most things are functioning well because there's a flow inside. There's communication that is happening. And when communication between the brain and the heart stops, what do you think happens? There's a split, right? There's a split here at the level of this. I mean, to speak Indian language, at the level of the throat chakra, there's a split, right? A lot of people have a lot of physical issue over here, right? Neck pain, throat pain, right? Blood flow to the heart, back to the brain, back to the heart, all kinds of things in the cervical region out here, right? A lot of stuff happens. We wonder why that is so. Why is there something out here? It's a good thing to think about, right? Is it something to do with communication not being flowing back to and fro from the brain and the heart? So the mind becomes very important. For me, the heart, absolutely, the heart takes precedent over the brain, okay? Because I know that I can get away with a lot of things in life if I can come from the heart space. Not just in work, with relationships, with whatever you do in life. If you can awaken your heart, your brain will take care of whatever it has to. That's what I think. So when we are talking of mind, right, mind plays a very, very strong role in the way we look at pain, right? So I may have two different types of clients, okay? Both have the same problem. Say, let's talk about fibromyalgia. You know what is fibromyalgia? So fibromyalgia is, it comes from, if you break up the word, fibro is fibrous, right? Myalgia comes from muscles, right? And pain. So there's pain in your fascia and in your muscles, right? And it is idiopathic. You don't know where the source is from. And it can move in your body. So I have two different clients who are with me right now who both have fibromyalgia, right? So there is pain in the body constantly. It's not a great thing to have at all, because these people have very little respite from pain. Very few days that they have where they can say that, oh, I feel good today. The minute they say that they feel good today, suddenly the pain erupts in their body. So they are in a situation where they have tremendous pain, right? For them, that is trauma. Now, one person's mind is very different from the other person's mind, all right? And where does that happen from? So one of my clients has really learned what is the difference between mindful or mindful. Okay, what is the difference? Mindful is just full of mind, right? Full of thinking, full of constant thoughts, right? Ruminations and all of that happening. So your brain is constantly 24/7, it is working, right? No rest for the brain. Okay, sleep patterns are totally disturbed. As it is, people who have fibromyalgia, unfortunately, their sleep is very disturbed. And so when they wake up in the morning, they're very tired. Over and above that, one of my clients has so much of thought process going on all the time, and which is very, very negative. So there is no silver lining in this client's life. The glass is half empty all the time, right? And then there's my other client who's learned how to be mindful. So they say that if you want to be healthy in life, right? If you want health in life, if you want a relationship, you may have pain, but your attitude towards the pain in your body is so different that you can live with that pain without getting totally distorted by that pain, right? And that's what has happened with this person who has learned how to be mindful. So they say if you learn how to be mindful, you're on your way to getting health into your life. So what is mindful?
Right decision making.
Awareness.
Yeah, what else? So you are aware, you are taking right decisions, and you're mindfully taking them, you're conscious about them, right? And you're mindful about what is happening with you in the present moment, right? Tell me, with social media and phones and all of the thing that happens, where is our mindfulness going today, right? Mindfulness is being mindful of who you are, where you are, right? Right now, what is happening with you in this present moment. But most people are not even there in the present moment. They're not even there when you walk on the street, you'll have people bumping into you because they're on their phones, very mindless, right? Or you'll have people doing all kinds of things because they're just not so conscious about what's happening. They're not conscious about you, they're not conscious about themselves. And that can take you away from health, right? Because when you're not mindful, there's so many things that you can do which you will regret later, which you probably will think later that, oh, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that. So it's nice for us to think about whether our mind is full or whether we are actually mindful. We are present. That word is really beautiful, to be present, right? You could be doing the most simplest of tasks in your life, right? You could be maybe washing dishes, or you could be, stacking dishes, or you could be just making a cup of tea, or you could be, what do Indian men do? You could be folding your shirt. Very simple. I'm talking really the most mundane things of our life. We don't have to be mindful in our corporate lives or in the big things that we do, but the smallest things, opening the door for someone, right? Or not rushing into the train just the moment the train comes onto the platform, or when you get into the lift, allowing somebody else to move in front of you. So many ways we can be mindful. And when we are mindful, it's amazing that the heart, the brain, the body, all of that come together as one complete unit together in that moment. And there is power in that moment. So when we have mindful living, it has a direct impact on our relationships, right? And relationships is actually, the crux of human life, right? Our need to be social is so much. Apart from the examples that you took of people being isolated and whatever, but our need to be in constant touch with someone is so great, right? That being mindful brings you much more in much closer, you give attention. Your focused attention is there on the person you are with, right? You're not sitting, you go to a restaurant nowadays, what do you see? A whole family sitting there, eating food, and each of them is on their phone. That's not mindfulness, right? If you are on the phone and you're eating food, that is not mindfulness. That's in fact, all these things are taking you away from health. One thing I want to mention here, which is very, very essential and crucial for us to remember, is that all of us have a blueprint of health inside of us, right? All of us. Nobody is exempt from that. So my body remembers all the time what it is to be healthy. My body remembers all the time what it is to feel good, joyful. And that is my right. To be in this human form is my right to be healthy. But a lot of us move away from that space, our original blueprint, right? Because of getting knocked around in life, getting shocks, getting trauma. We move away a lot from there, right? And we forget our way back home. So we forget how to go back to that original place of health. And we are actually just floundering, right? right? We lose strength, we become weak, we lose our ability to be resilient, right? And sometimes we get isolated, so we don't have any friends, we don't have any people to talk to. So this looks like something that you were talking of when people get isolated. Yeah, would you say that? So there is one thing that comes out of people who have pain is a sense of helplessness. Alright, what is helplessness? Helpless, so there is no help.
Supportive hands.
No supportive hands, right? And when people are in pain, the first thing they think is that I need somebody else to help me because I can't help myself, right? So they have lost the ability of supporting themselves, right? And if we want to really go beyond pain and we want to go beyond pain, means we cannot ever say that we won't have pain in our lives, because being human is having pain sometime or the other. But when I mean life beyond pain, I mean what are the attitudes that we should have that can carry us beyond pain, right? How can we make our life better, more functional, even though we have pain? Most people who come for therapy, a lot of people who come for therapy don't have that, they're not at that place where they can cope with pain. So they don't have the skills that are necessary to cope with pain, right? And then they get to a place like this where they feel totally isolated. They feel isolated from their families, they feel isolated from society, they feel isolated from even themselves. Which means to say that somewhere they have lost connection with their own self. You know, when I talked the earlier slide, when I talked of the brain, when I showed you that brain picture, right? So when people have pain and there are those connections that have got lost in the brain, connections of joy, connections of happiness, and instead of those connections, they have more connections of pain and sadness and those kind of things. What happens to those people is that what those people require are new connections. People require new skills so that the brain can start thinking and doing things differently. All right? So now when we have pain, okay, if for example you have a situation in your life which causes you pain, okay, what are the things you would normally do? What do humans do? Either we fight
We try to be away from that situation, or we try to face it, no choice.
So you either face it, right?
No choice.
You have no choice. You can't run away from that situation. Like it could be a family member who you have to live with no matter how your relationship is, which means to say that you have to be in that relationship, right? But if you're in a workplace, if you are in a workplace and your work environment isn't good, or you don't have a good boss, so you can fight that boss if you like, all right? Or you can leave. So you can fight or you can run away from that place, right? A lot of people go through experiences where they can neither fight nor they can run. And what happens to them? So there's so it's a mechanism called freezing.
Yeah,
All right, you've seen National Geographic or similar kind of movies where the tiger is chasing the deer. You've seen what happens. Do you remember what happens? So the deer becomes gets oriented to the tiger who is chasing it, right? And if the tiger reaches the deer and it pounces upon the deer, okay, the deer can't fight the tiger for obvious reasons. The tiger is too strong, too big, whatever. All right, there's a stereotypical belief system that the deer also has, that this is the bigger enemy, this is a predator and I'm the prey. So it can't fight. In that situation it can't run as well. It has a third way of encountering stress in its life, which is to freeze. So the deer falls down and it freezes. When the body freezes, the body helps you to get numb to pain. So even if the tiger is now going to put its teeth into your body as a deer, you're so numb that you would not feel the pain that would come out of if normally you are eaten up by a tiger. So the body freezes. And luckily for this particular deer, maybe the tiger feels, oh, this deer is dead, and it just goes away because it doesn't want to eat dead meat. And the deer is, now it realizes that it's free. If you've seen those movies, they do get up and then they start shaking. Have you seen a deer shaking? And it shakes off all its frustration that built up, fear that built up, all of that built up. It is free of all of that. But that happens in the animal kingdom. And unfortunately, as humans, we go through life on a daily basis. We have some stress or the other. We are upset or we are angry or whatever happens. We can't shake it off. Right? We can't sort of rave and rant and scream and yell and, do all of that. What do we end up doing? We end up swallowing it all in. Right? We introject all of that. We take it inside, and that's how we build up so much of emotional stuff within us. And for 20, 30, 40 years, we have all that emotional stuff bottled up inside us. And ultimately, what happens to all that emotional stuff? So all the emotional, negative emotions caught up in the body, eventually they lead into illnesses. And that's what we call psychosomatic illness. So soma is the body, psycho is the psychic part, the mind, right? And the illnesses that arise out of the mind. So no wonder we are told, right? Nowadays we are told that think well, think good, think kindly, think compassionately. That's where you have the Dalai Lama talking so much about being compassionate. According to the Dalai Lama, if you are compassionate and only compassionate, that alone can get you through life. Because compassion will cure everybody of all the ill health that they have. So kindness and compassion. So this image is to show you that the body can freeze to such an extent and that you can stay in that frozen state for years. Years. So you can be moving through life as a regular person, right? Or everything else is fine in your life. But there are parts of you that have got frozen inside at different times in your life when you encountered a threat or you encountered pain and you did nothing about it. You allowed that pain to go inside your body and stay somewhere. You've heard of the word autoimmune diseases, right? What is autoimmune disease?
The body is fighting its own
Yes.
defense mechanism.
Yes. So when the body gets too much of inflammation in the body, right, and the body's immune system cannot fight that inflammation, right, and you have all kinds of things happening in the body. It's a different topic altogether. We'll probably do it one time. So what happens is that the body, like he said, starts attacking itself. So something like thyroid, hypothyroidism, something like arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus, or MS, or even cancer, Alzheimer's. These are all autoimmune diseases where internally there's a fight going on. It's almost like a fight for survival, right? So isn't it better that people take care of their mind way before it comes down into the body? Right? That's why mindfulness, there are different techniques that are taught nowadays. Yoga is one of them. Right? Yoga can take you into a life beyond pain. So then what are the other things have you heard of? Have you heard of meditations, right? Right? Not just things like vipassana and chanting, right? Buddhist chanting. Then what else? There's a meditation called loving kindness meditation. Have you ever heard it? If you are, you have an access to the net. You can, otherwise I can download it for you and I can send it to her. And it's a great meditation. It's called loving kindness meditation. It's a Buddhist meditation, which helps you to calm yourself down. So when we say calm ourselves down, all right, I would like to bring here a little bit about the nervous system. What is the nervous system? So like I said that time, the brain and your spinal cord is your central nervous system, right? And you also have a peripheral nervous system which goes into your tissue, right? And into your organs, right? right? Now when the central nervous system is divided into two, one is the autonomic nervous system, right? The autonomic nervous system is what? It's autonomic. It's involuntary. And you have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic nervous system is what? Which makes you do whatever you're doing. It helps you to be active. It helps you to get up in the morning. It helps you to do something through the day. That's your sympathetic nervous system, which helps you to act, right? But what happens is that most people get into a place where they continuously acting. So their sympathetic nervous system is charging up all the time. So all these young people, especially the young people, older generation as well, some people, mostly the young people, they don't sleep before 2 o'clock. Have you met, do you sleep late?
This is a productive age, taking challenges.
Okay, so if you sleep late, if you sleep so late, alright, it is said that the brain needs to be nourished. You're nourishing the rest of your body through the day, you eat food, right? You have metabolic activities in your body, so cells generate energy for you, and so you're eating so that you have metabolism in the body, right? And you can have energy to do more work and more work. But the brain needs nourishment as well, and the brain gets nourished during night, and 10 to 2 is the time when the brain is supposed to be nourished, when all the toxins from the brain, around the brain, are taken away, and the brain gets its minerals and nutrients, whatever it needs to flourish. And people who sleep very late are actually not giving themselves a chance to renew and regenerate. So that's one of the things that can happen when people don't get the adequate amount of sleep. What young people say is that we'll sleep in the morning and we'll sleep till 10 o'clock in the morning and make up for that sleep. But that can never happen. Right? Because the whole biorhythms and the biological changes, clock that happens in the body is completely disturbed, right, by that kind of a thing. So inflammation is a big word, okay, it's connected to pain. So when we have pain in the body, right, there's inflammation in the body. So what happens when there's inflammation? Inflammation is when, say, you have a cut, right? And then the cut, around the cut, the body gets swollen and it gets red. That is called inflammation. So inflammation is a good thing, because when you have hurt in your body, right, the body's way of protecting yourself is through inflammation. And so when that inflammation happens and you leave it alone, it can very well get all right. But most people run to put something on it, put ointment on it and take an injection and then talk about it a lot and negatively create a lot of narratives around that hurt and all that. You end up making it stay much longer with you. But if you allowed your body to take care of anything on your body, it'll take its course and clear it. But unfortunately, what happens if it's acute pain? This is a great thing. Inflammation happens, the immune system acts, and everything is sorted out. What happens when you have chronic pain? Do you know what is chronic pain? Over how much time?
Maybe more than a week.
So about 3 to 6 months and beyond is when pain becomes chronic. So if you have acute pain and it lasts till you recover that pain in 3 months, then you're out of it. But if your pain lasts and it goes beyond 3 to 6 months, then it becomes chronic, right?
3 to 6 months.
And chronic pain is when what happens is that once it becomes chronic, it becomes more difficult to treat that pain, because now it's gone out of the realm of your immune system taking care of things in your body. That's the time when you then start looking at, oh my God, this is not healed for so long, and now I need to go to a doctor or I go to a therapist or whatever, right? So now what are the reasons why inflammation can become chronic? What do you think? Everybody gets acute pain, right? You fall off a bicycle and you get hurt, you will get acute pain, right? Emotionally also you can get acute pain. You have a sudden loss in your life, and the emotions that come out of that sudden loss are very, very excruciating, right? Unbearable. And they're acute. They're in the immediate now, Okay, but if you're resilient and you're strong and you have a good support system around you, you can deal with that acute pain of that loss and very soon come out of it, right? But why is it that some people can't come out of acute pain and they go into chronic pain? And chronic pain can go into bigger illnesses, it can go into depression as well, clinical depression, and then it can go into all kinds of places where then the person finds it very difficult to come back to themselves. So why do you think that happens?
Weak mind has played a part.
Yes.
Because the inflammation is a natural healing process.
Yes.
Yeah. And it will subside of its own.
Yes. Yes.
What is going to prevent is the interaction between the mind and the body.
Yes. So the mind is, you agree that the mind can play havoc in our lives, right? And that's the difference that happens even with clients who come to me in my clinic. There are some people who seem to have a lot of strength and robustness and resilience inside them because they have skills that they can deal with certain things that happen in their life. They have skills to deal with it, right? They have a good, say for example, they can think when things are not going well. Their attitude is different, right? They may be financially strong or they may not be financially strong, but they still have a good attitude about it, right? They have good relationships around them. The social engagement is very good. You know, when I talked of trust and safety a while back, okay, that is part of our social engagement system. If I trust you all, I can be here and stand and talk to you, right? But if I didn't trust you, I would have said no, and I would have said no, I can't come to a place where I don't know any of these people, right? Also, I feel an element of safety being here. And therefore, my social engagement with all of you is pretty good. And so is yours with me, right? So these are the things that could also cause severe inflammation in our body when our ability to be with other people is very, very small. And that could happen because of so many different things that we have gone through in our own lives, right? And where we have isolated ourselves. And then when pain comes into our life, our body is firstly already weak, our mind is already weak, and then when we have something going wrong, then it can be terrible for us. So my thing is that what I want you to take away from this thing is that we complicate the pain that we have in our lives. Okay, I have people who come and actually tell me that I'm okay with what is, I don't like it, but I'm okay about living with it. So in a way, what are you saying? You're saying that you're not going to fight this, right? You've given up hope even before you have started to deal with this issue in your life, right? But if you keep it very simple, and we complicate things a lot, we complicate our relationships through expectations, right? We complicate small things at our workplace and make them really big, right?
I remember because I always say business, keep it simple, make it simple. So these are the words.
All right.
CIS,
Yeah.
keep it simple, keep it simple.
So if you remember that whenever you have complications in life, right, to find the most simple solution, how to make it simple, how to take away elements of that difficulty and make it simple will make you come to the best possible way. It will give you a skill to handle it. And meditation and mindfulness are really very, very simple things to do, very simple things to learn, and that will help you to even keep your doctor's visits to a bare minimum, or to maybe eliminate taking allopathic drugs unless you really have to take them for a very, crucial reason. And so this was my first thing about pain, all right? I just wanted to introduce the concept of pain. Next time I would be taking it into a different aspect and element of pain. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything to add? I would love to hear it.
How to simplify things? I do not understand. Keep it simple. You have to simplify, remove all the putting
can't remove the difficult parts, right? Say for example, you live with somebody who you find difficult to live with. All right? You can't just exterminate them. You have to live with them, right?
It's appreciation.
Sorry?
Appreciation.
You mean?
Accepting.
So first thing is when I mean keep it simple is that are you in relationship to yourself? When we say that we want to be in relationship to other people, have we even considered how we are in relationship to ourselves? How good are we to ourselves? Do we accept the way we are? Do we give ourselves love? Do we give ourselves respect, consideration? Because if we can't do those simple things for ourselves, we'll never be able to do it for anyone else. No matter how much you tell somebody else, I love you, it just means nothing if you don't love yourself. Your heart has to be really full in order for you to share of it. Right? You can't share from an empty heart. Right? So that's what I mean at keep it simple. Always bring it down to yourself. If things are not going well in your life, if there are people in your life whom you don't appreciate, right? Take it to yourself that where do you not appreciate things about you? That will clarify for you what you have a problem with that person about. But most of the time we make it complicated by looking outside of ourselves. Right? We have pain in the body, you created the pain in my body. Right? Yes, a blame game, a judgment game. We never say that how did I create this in my life? So keep it simple, see how you are manifesting your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.